Okay. Um, so we'll go ahead and let people kind of log in here onto the participant side. Yeah, you can enjoy the views of Vasiliki's fine art or my fish. This has become my go-to broadcasting spot for the podcasts and webinars and such. So it's worked out well. I don't know what any of the fish are. They're not my fish.
It's my son's, actually. It's my
Oh,
son's.
really?
I'm promoting his artwork.
Okay. How can people want to find your son? Is there a way they can find him?
Not yet. He's only 17, so we're hiding him.
Okay. Good. Okay. Oh, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for the shout out. Aaron said it's been a great program this week. Well, let's go ahead. I think we can go ahead and get started just because we are on a limited time. So, as we start here, thank you so much for joining. Thanks, Vasiliki, as well for joining.
Absolutely.
And just to give you guys a little bit of background on who Vasiliki is for those that don't know. So she is the Executive Vice President and Group CEO at Unilever Prestige. She's helped to put together brands like Murad, Dermalogica, Hourglass, Tatcha, Kate Somerville, and others into a really exciting portfolio as part of Unilever. And prior to that, you were at Procter & Gamble for, I think, about 18 years or so, around there, and reached, I think you were, Global Managing Director for Max Factor. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Very cool. So obviously somebody that's got a ton of experience, somebody that I expect to learn a lot from today. So these are always fun for me because I get to ask all the questions that are awkward to ask when you're just in a one-on-one meeting. So Vasiliki, let's start out with, you've risen up the ranks across a couple of very prestigious personal care and beauty companies. Tell us a little bit about your career and kind of how you got here.
So like you said, Connor, I studied in the US. I guess the most relevant degree for this group is the MBA I got at Columbia Business School. Afterwards, I was recruited. I did an internship actually for P&G in Geneva in between the two MBA years. And then I was given an offer to go back. So I started my career in Switzerland with P&G doing the export markets. And I did stay actually 19 years doing various roles, from local roles to regional roles to global roles. And it was a lot of fun. P&G, definitely at the time, at least that I was there, it was a great school in terms of leadership training, marketing. People definitely had the opportunity to get a lot of experience in very exciting projects. After that, I thought I would do something completely different, and I was looking to work more in luxury and fashion or startup. I definitely wasn't looking, to work in a global, company. And it was a little bit of an accident how I started to work in Unilever, which obviously I won't go into detail here, but I ended up doing, my dream, which was to work in luxury beauty this time. And I kind of created this as a startup within a big corporate, which has been a very exciting kind of journey. So that's my trip. I was born in Greece, in Volos, very small town, very much where Mamma Mia was shot. That's the best explanation I can give, so people can picture it. A beautiful place to visit in the summer. Went to the States for education, P&G, and then Unilever, and kind of doing a startup within Unilever.
And then did you kind of pitch the idea of that startup, or was it something that was brought to you as an opportunity to kind of build that prestige division?
Yeah, thank you for asking. I pitched it. It was very much about how we win in the premium kind of part of the market. So I did start it from a blank sheet of paper. And I think it's a good thing here because a lot of times people ask me, how much can I broaden my job? How do I go about this? And I always say as a theme, you can create the job you want, people will give you A maybe, but you can do B and C and D. It really depends on your vision, on your leadership, and on your initiative. So I think I'm a good example in that sense of starting something from a blank sheet of paper with a very limited brief, but then making it big. And I hope I can inspire others in the same way.
Yeah, there's a really famous quote or well-known quote from Steve Jobs where he says, you know, look around you, like everything around you was created by someone else that is probably no smarter than you are, right? And as soon as you realize that you can create things out of thin air, it's just, it changes your perspective and how you approach things. So yeah, and I think a lot of people don't either feel empowered or don't feel like they have the authority to do that. So that's really cool to share as a story. I had no idea that that was the case. That's really cool. I assumed that it was like, this is some big corporate initiative and Vasiliki, it's your job to do it. That's crazy.
Yeah, the contrary, yeah. And it's a good message for women especially, because sometimes, and I can speak for myself and, you know, through interviews, etc., I see a common theme with women. Sometimes we will not ask or, you know, take the extra step for whatever reason, cultural or not, you know. So if we can inspire a few more women today, that will make my day for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we're talking about kind of how you've gotten here, what are some of the other habits or, you know, or elements of your career that you think led to where you are today? Like, what are some of those very specific tactics?
In terms of leadership,
Yeah, it can be leadership. It can be, you know, do you eat breakfast at 6 a.m. every day and read the
I
newspaper,
see.
right? Like, what are your habits and your
I see.
things that have led to you being successful?
I'm definitely having a clear mind. You know, you talked about early mornings. I'm an early person, so I will tend to get up, exercise. Lately, I'm into meditation and all of the end stuff, which really helps me as well. Clear mind, clear decision making. Now we are in a virtual world, so I will always try to keep an hour.
Oh, Vasiliki, I think we might have lost you here. Let's see. Oh, she coming back? Okay, there you are.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened.
Oh, it happens. I had Zoom kick me off for another meeting. It was weird, 3 times in a row so I'm really hoping that doesn't happen to me. So anyways, you were saying clear
So
mind.
yeah, I was saying clear mind, clear decision making. Have a lunch break. Always keep my lunch break free, either to catch up with the family or because something will always, you know, over.
Hmm. Oh, there you are. Wonder if it's something with your internet connection.
I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Oh, it's okay. Let's see. Maybe it'll correct itself. Okay. Well, I think we can keep going along in terms of other, you know, other questions. So I think for you, you know, when you're looking to, and this can be both in the context of acquiring a company or even hiring a leader. What do you look for when you're hiring somebody, whether as an acquisition or as a leader? What are some of the qualities that you look for in people? What do you value in the people that work for you?
Yeah, definitely vision is something I look at. Leadership skills, thinking out of the box, a collaborative person, a person who likes to coach and mentor, who enables people. But foresight, leadership, and collaboration, I think they are the most three important things that I look at. And also kindness. I believe in leadership, in being kind to people. I believe empathy is one of these new skills that is so much needed today. So that's one as well.
Gotcha. So speaking of Steve Jobs, you wouldn't have hired Steve Jobs. Not a lot of empathy or kindness there.
No, lots of vision. Sometimes you get these extremes, right? And you need to make a decision. Maybe if I have so much vision, can I enable this person, partner them with somebody else? I have come also to see that not everybody has everything. So then how do you partner outstanding talent with different skills? This person maybe is a duo together versus a solo player, you know?
Yeah, it's a tough balance to strike. I think like I've heard of the no, this is our own podcast, the no assholes policy, right? Like no matter what, you can't be an asshole, right? You're not allowed to be in if you're an asshole. Other than that, we'll deal with you, right, as a person. But yeah, it's tough when you have those people that are such powerful individual producers, but then they kind of grate when it comes to working with the rest of the team. It's and I personally I've done that before myself for sure. It's a tough balance to strike from a management perspective.
No, definitely. In Unilever also we have the code, you know, it's all the values. So you have to kind of behave values a different way. So that is also important. Ethics, value, integrity, you know, is part of the package absolutely as well.
Yeah, totally. So talking about kind of corporate culture for a second here, I know that you've been a big advocate of kind of modernizing corporate culture. How have you approached that within Unilever Prestige specifically, right? Have you kind of formed your own culture within that group, or is it really kind of mirror what you do broadly within Unilever holistically? How do you manage that as one group kind of within a bigger group?
Sure. Definitely there are common things with Unilever, right? Because like I was talking about the code.
Oh. Hey Vasiliki, I might try something that's a little alternative here, and it'll be a little weird for a virtual conference. But if you turn off your video, let's try that and see if that works.
Okay,
I think
fantastic.
your voice is what's most important.
Okay, fantastic. Great. So we were talking about culture. So we definitely have common values with Unilever. Unilever Prestige also has its own culture. We have a business model where brands are at the core of everything we do. So definitely the dermalogical culture is different from the Hourglass culture. But there is a layer also of Unilever Prestige culture in the sense of entrepreneurship, passion for innovation, taking risks, learning through mistakes, experimenting, you know, being more of a speedboat mentality versus kind of a slow agent. So it works, you know. Ethics are non-negotiable, you know, for everybody. There is brand culture, and then definitely there are common elements that we try to inspire the companies to adhere to with regard to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, talking about mistakes there for a second, you know, I think that's something that, you know, I think within corporate culture, often the goal is just to, they call it CYA, you know, cover your own butt, right? Make sure that you don't make any mistakes. And as long as you don't make mistakes, you'll continue to move forward. And so it's really cool to hear that you guys embrace like, hey, mistakes are going to be made. For you, you know, having built out this unit on your own and not having, I mean, I don't think you had done a lot of M&A work or portfolio building previously. What do you think were some of the mistakes that you've made without talking about a specific company or a specific decision, but what are some of the mistakes and learnings that you've had over the last, you know, several years?
I'll start with the positive to give the time to think about the mistakes.
Well, every mistake leads to something learned, right? So
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely. I think what I did right so far was to stick to my gut and my intuition about what is the job to be done. definitely I hadn't done M&A before. And I think it's also a good learning. I can inspire people, hopefully today, in the sense that don't be harsh on yourself if you haven't done something complicated, you know. If you have the attitude of and the patience to kind of be uncomfortable and kind of the humility to learn and to grow and to seek assistance if you don't know something, you know, because there are always support groups, either internally in the company or externally. I think you can't really lose, you know. So I think it's this attitude of being willing to take risks, leaning in, and to really be uncomfortable at all times is a key theme that I want to talk about, because for me, it's a huge space where people grow. And sometimes we shy away from being uncomfortable, but then we shy away from the opportunity of growth. So that's something I definitely have learned as a learning. I'm trying to think, definitely I learned through acquisitions that there is not, you have to feel the pace of the spirit of a company. You can't say I'm going to standardize the same thing across 8 companies, you know, because they are very in different spaces on the maturity curve, either on the size of the operations, but also on the cultural time that they have started partnering with Unilever. So it's a very bespoke way of feeling what is the right way for that company to be handled versus one size fits all. So that has been definitely another big learning.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you guys have taken a similar approach to the way that LVMH does, in that they allow the brands to really operate pretty independently. Like there's not some large centralized kind of corporate team that's telling what each one of the brands to do. Is that something you expect to continue to do moving forward, or was that, or do you think that it's better to have a little bit more kind of corporate oversight?
I definitely believe in decentralizing operations versus centralizing operations. Again, ultimately, I believe that people are looking for authenticity. And sometimes when you centralize too much, you tend to compromise, you know, the authenticity of the brands. Obviously, there is a balance, right? Because the bigger the business becomes, the more complex it becomes. So, but I'm a big advocate of this model. You're asking me whether I'm going to change it or not. I always say I can only see, you know, well, I used to say 3 years ahead. Now I can only see about 3 months ahead with COVID. So my principle is always look at what is the job to be done and then organize accordingly versus having, you know, lots of protocols and processes and complicated theories. You know, I keep a very practical approach to business.
Yeah, I think in 2020, I can see about 3 days ahead. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll get a little off topic here, but we had a question from Paige Frolke, which says, what is something Vasiliki feels she doesn't see often enough in the industry from young talent? Where does she want the rising generation to challenge themselves besides all-around growth?
I think what I don't see, interesting, I don't see patience from young people. You know, definitely I get a lot of comments that, oh, X person joined last year and, you know, they want to become CEO next year. And it is okay, you know, to kind of have lots of different titles. Doesn't mean anything these days. And the opportunity to grow, to learn, to experiment, and then to make an impact, like I was saying. So patience is definitely, and more thirst to learn. to grow necessarily fast. Speed is something, and time is a very relative concept, you know. It's really all about
Oh, I think we might have lost her here for a
I'm
second.
here. I'm
Okay.
here. So
Hey.
sorry about this. I don't know what's happening today. This has never happened before.
It's okay. I've had, I remember I had a meeting with some senior executives within a corporation. I show up and it was a very big meeting for us at the time. And my computer wouldn't connect. And it was like a big presentation and it just wouldn't work. And I didn't know what was going on. Finally, by the end of it, somehow, between the presentation that was just before me and my presentation, the HDMI cord had broken. And that was the problem. And so I had to give it live based off memory and show it on my little laptop on a table with like 15 executives around the table. It was, yeah, so I've been there. So that was from Valentin Olivier as well. I guess he's on Paige's account. So let's talk, going back to the M&A stuff a little bit here. You know, you mentioned kind of three components in the things that I've heard you, where you've spoken about this before, right? So you like to look for brands that are mission driven, right? Or that, not mission driven, but purpose driven.
Purpose driven, yeah.
Purpose, not mission. So purpose driven, founder led, and future fit, right?
Yeah.
So let's look at all three of those elements for a second. Why, starting with purpose driven, why is that critical? Like, why is that important today when you look at a brand success?
This definite purpose is hugely important, and it's an anchor for us with Unilever, because we definitely believe that our mission is to of the planet, but also to be a positive contributor to making big social changes, positive social changes. We believe that the mission of the brands is to leave legacies to the planet, but also society. So in that spirit, our CEO, Alan Job, has said publicly that if a brand does not have a purpose, then it will be sold. Because we're very much committed about purpose and brands together.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the elements that makes that even more critical is just the internet, right? So with the internet, things are so much more transparent that, you know, a brand that doesn't live by the purpose it states as well, because you can, you know, a lot of people will say they're purpose driven, right? There's very few companies that aren't actually claiming that, right? But whether they are underneath the surface is a totally different question. And so, yeah, I can see that being even more important today than it was in the past. So why is being founder-led important? What's critical about that as an element?
A founder brings a lot of first authenticity, experience, mission, purpose, love, innovation, inspiration, creativity, a lot of expertise. So I love working with founders. The mission, their passion, their thirst for the brand is very hard to replicate in other ways. And that's why I think it really helps when a brand has a founder.
Yeah, I mean, they can definitely screw things up sometimes too, but I think in general, the passion it's hard to replicate that. And you wonder, I mean, you see brands that get acquired by these large strategics, and there's an initial growth phase where they fuel that expansion, the top line numbers go up, but then over time, the brand just slowly kind of dies. And I feel like I think it's hard to maintain the soul of a brand without having a founder. Although, you know, it's obviously been done, but it's tough.
I think it really depends on how you manage a brand and a founder. To your point, whether founders are difficult or not, it really depends again on the management and also on the partnership from the beginning. I tend to have very honest conversations, you know, before an acquisition, because better to have the transparent conversations before a partnership, right? Because then it's very easy to work because all the conversations have been had, you know, Of course, there will be, intricate situations, etc. But the more honest the conversations, I think, the better it is. But I also believe you can definitely build brands without founders. It's not only the only way. You can incubate brands, science-led brands. You can have a disruptive innovation. I think what consumers are looking for is authentic stories that deliver superior benefits. And that's it, really. Great products that do, that deliver, but also they serve society and the planet. I truly think that's the magic solution.
Have you thought at all about brand incubation, like a Kendo and LVMH, or is that something you guys are kind of shying away from for now?
We have thought, we are not there yet in that sense, but it's something definitely that we're considering, yes.
Yeah, it's, I mean, there's obviously, I think there's a lot of outfits founding brands right now, but I mean, given the resources that you guys have, especially, I mean, a lot of these founders that you've, worked with now, right? You've created these partnerships. They probably are itching to create their next thing. So it'd be cool for you to help facilitate that, I would imagine.
Maybe, but we're quite busy growing the current brand. So
All right, I don't
find the
time. Okay, so I think the final element is this concept of future fit. So when you talk about future fit, like what does a future fit brand look like to you? Like I've noticed that for you guys, you've got very limited exposure with kind of within the department stores. Obviously, I would imagine e-commerce, wellness. Like what are the elements that make up a future fit brand to you?
A future fit brand can be future fit from a couple of areas, right? One is in terms of the philosophy, the ideology. What are the strategic waves and spaces that a brand is playing in? The second,
Oh, I think we might have lost you. Let's see. Can blame the infrastructure in London, I suppose, on this one. Vasiliki, do we have you?
I am here. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. So you were on the second.
Central London. It's Central London. I can't believe it.
It's okay. So you said you were on the second point. That's where we lost you. So the second.
So the channel, right? You can't be future fit unless you have a big e-commerce digital capability to be talking to your consumers, given everything that is going on. So I think those two, and the third one I would say, which is a big talent. People is everything, as you know, right? Having the right people. A lot of times there is a big vision, a great product, but you need also to have the right people to accomplish that vision. So I would say it's the combination of these three things.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think if you're missing one of them, I think it makes it a lot tougher. And then I think, so in terms of the next question, actually, I'll go to one of the Q&A. This is from Olivia. She said, what type of qualifications does Vasiliki feel are necessary to get to the level of professional success that she is at, other than an MBA? So are there any other specific qualifications that you think are really important? Do you think an MBA is important? Like, is that still something that's valued within kind of corporate America? What are your feelings there?
I don't think so. I think the world is changing very fast, and I'm a big advocate that the young people finish university and get into a job. I think because I don't truly believe that somebody actually told me the other day that the education you get by the time you're out, it's completely, not relevant to the world you're going to live in. So Actually, universities help in terms of discipline of mind, focus, network, meeting people, having a good time as well. Life is to be enjoyed, So I'm very much about that. But then having an MBA, I'm not so sure these days. There is so much excitement happening in companies. The earlier you start, the better it is, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I kind of questioned or considered going back to get an MBA at one point, and obviously Tribe is just doing too well to do that. Like it'd just be a big mistake. I think I've learned a lot more by doing that. At the same time, I do think I had a little bit of the impatience that you talked about, where we wanted to take the whole thing in as early as we could, and that comes with its own challenges. But yeah, I personally am a big fan of just getting into market and starting to have an impact.
Absolutely. Connor, I think you can teach an MBA.
I can teach it. I can give them all the mistakes not to make.
No, you definitely have taught me a lot. I'm a big, advocate of you and your work. Every time we speak, I learn a lot from you.
I appreciate that. So let's talk about products a little bit, right? So you've been in the world of products, consumer products for a while now, right? And I know that in your talk with Priya on the Glossy podcast, you talked a lot about, newness being overemphasized over hero products. And I think we've seen it on the social data side that hero products have really outperformed kind of new products just because people are going back to what's tried and true. When you look at and assess a company or assess a product, what are the elements that you look for that kind of compose a hero product? Like what in your mind makes something a hero product?
A hero product definitely needs to deliver above all, right? It needs to be a superior efficacy product and to delight with its formula, the way it feels, the way it kind of, it comes into touch with the people. And it needs to have something unique, a unique benefit. I think then it stands out, something ideally that others have not thought before. It creates a new need, or it attacks a way. That's kind of the second area. The third one is, I was thinking, in its naming. I have noticed that great hero products also have simple but funky names, that kind of make people curious about what it is. This one can be a tricky area because sometimes if you are trying to be too clever, then you disconnect the consumer completely. But if you find the right balance, it can be a recipe for a winner.
Yeah, I know that nobody should ever take naming advice from John and I. Our first company was TRIB3, which so it was Tribe, but with the 3 was supposed to be like an E. It turns out that somebody had already taken the domain name, so we had to go out and pay this 3-man band from New Mexico to buy the domain name from them for $2,000. And then after buying that, we found out that the name, if you Google that name, it's actually cancer. So it's a cancer protein. So it was, and then there was other issues there. So naming is an art that I'm just not particularly good at, but that it does make sense, right? People has to be something that sticks with them and that's easy to remember. Okay. Vasiliki, did we lose you there? Let's see. Hello. Okay, we'll go ahead and give Vasiliki another minute here. Oh, seems like we've totally lost her. We'll go ahead and give it another minute or two here while we wait it out. Really appreciate you guys sticking around through all of these technical difficulties. I know it's not easy. This is the nature of live events, unfortunately. Let's see if we have some of the Q&A here that maybe I can answer. What is a brand outside of the UL Prestige Group? Oh, I think we have her back. Hello. So I have a brand that you guys should check out. It's called Topo, T-O-P-O Designs. Really cool company, large social audience, outdoor backpacks, big fan. Hey, Vasiliki, there?
I'm here. I'm here.
um, okay, so, I got another question about the hero products, which
Yeah.
is how do you keep a hero product fresh? So one of the things that you mentioned about Chanel in your interview was that Chanel's products are basically always the same, right? They don't
Yeah.
change their hero products. So how do you maintain kind of the freshness of a hero product without losing what made it special in the first place?
Definitely with new content, experiences, but really new content, right? It's how, and also what I say to my people is sometimes we get bored of our product. And what consumers get bored, right? Because most of the consumers have not even discovered our products. So there is a lot to around awareness, helping more people discover products, and definitely more content and education is one way I would advise that people try. And awareness, especially in premium beauty. We believe that everybody has heard our products, but when we do, any kind of testing, we actually find out that it's a very small number. That, I always say it's probably our family, and our network, and that's about it. So how can we do better than that?
Yeah, it's funny because in your own little echo chamber, like obviously everybody knows whose tribe is. It's like, no, it's actually a very small number as compared to the size of the US or even the size of the, just the marketing world.
Also, there is something here, Connor, to say as a learning. Sometimes people define the market way too closely, they look at, say, oh, the prestige market, or sometimes in reviews, I see, oh, it's, in this subcategory, the consumer doesn't look in categories or whether it's mass prestige. Consumer is one. And everybody is entitled to great products, great innovation. So think about the market much bigger than as a little box that we define where we take in, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So let's talk about kind of post-COVID. Now that we are 6 months into this, and I know that you've had a lot of experience in retail over time. How do you think that things have changed when it comes to retail? And how much do you think it will go back to kind of the way that it was? What are your thoughts now that we're a little bit further into this?
I'm a big fan of retail. I don't think retail is going to die because people want experiences, they want human touch, they want education, and they want the pleasure of just discovering and exploration. Beauty is such a multifaceted.
Oh, Vasiliki, I think we lost you again. Well, I'll tell you guys my opinion on the future of retail. So I think that to Vasiliki's point, I don't think it'll go away, right? People like touching, feeling, interacting with products. I think that's going to continue, particularly in the personal care and beauty care or beauty space. Obviously, the budgets will continue to shift. People won't go back to the way that things were before. I don't think a lot of that will recover. But yeah, Vasiliki, we lost you there. You were saying that you are very positive on the future of retail. But maybe what about the next year? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Because I would have to imagine a lot of these people that are holding leases are going to start being under some pretty significant pressure over the next 12 months. Oh. Well, it looks like she's cutting in and out here. Well, anyways, we're about 5 minutes towards the end. I think what we'll do just in light of that is we'll just go ahead and wrap up. But we really appreciate you guys all hopping in. Apologies for the technical difficulties on this one. Thank you so much to Vasiliki. Thank you so much to all the people that asked questions. I'm sorry that we weren't able to get to all of them in the meantime. And yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and I think we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Vasiliki, are you there? Okay, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate you taking the time out. Hope you enjoy all the other events, and really appreciate, again, really appreciate all the feedback you guys give. A lot of you guys are customers. Hey, Vasiliki, we're going to go ahead and wrap up.
Thank you. I'm so sorry, Connor. I don't know what's happening with the internet today. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. No big deal. All right, guys. We'll talk to y'all later.